Thank you all for being so patient with me while I've had the flu the last couple days. I'm back on track and getting over it, and we're going to be pushing out lots of vids. So right now we want to go ahead and cover the main subject, which is Dee Dee. I think the character that Dee Dee played for Gypsy was Aurora. As we know, they lived in Aurora, Missouri, and conveniently, Aurora is the only Disney princess that is named by other names. So she's named as Aurora or Sleeping Beauty. They also call her Briar Rose. And as we know, Gypsy's middle name is Rose. So this is the only Disney princess that has the same middle name as Gypsy, which is Rose. As Gypsy planned the character of Sleeping Beauty for her mom was going to be the character who would be sleeping forever. And so she messaged Nick at 7:30 on June 9th. And this is first thing in the morning to mentally prepare Nick for what he was going to do that day. And she messaged him first thing in the morning and says, she sleeps on her tummy. Like I said, a light sleeper, hun. The shiz going to go down tonight, Ruby said. It's important to take note, like who's talking right now. It's not Gypsy, it's Ruby talking to Nick. Nick is autistic, and so when he sees Ruby's name in a text message, he knows that Ruby's talking to him. And when he doesn't see that, he knows Gypsy's talking to him. And he believes what he sees and hears as if it's truth. He cannot tell when someone's lying to him. So Gypsy sent him that prior text message at 7:30. 10 minutes later, so for 10 minutes, she lets him think about how she's going to be laying on her tummy, how she's going to be sleeping, and how the shiz is going to go down that night. 10 minutes later, she reminds him, for motivation's sake, what the motivator is to make sure he does his job. So she gave him the task, which was the message at 7:30. My mom's going to be on her tummy sleeping. And then she sends him another text 10 minutes later, and this is what it says. For motivator's sake, bring your A game, hun. This is life with me on the line. This is the part of the text we have to really pay attention to, because when Gypsy is telling Nick, this is for motivation's sake. This is in case you're having second doubts or you think you're going to change your mind. This is your motivator to remind you why you have to do this. This is life with me on the line. With me on the line. This is saying that Gypsy's life is on the line. So Ruby sent a text message. 10 minutes later, Gypsy sends the text message and reminds him, hey, it's my life on the line. You have to do what Ruby said.
I use the one card that I have over you.
We know what card Gypsy was holding over Nick, and that card was Gypsy's life. Nick was being told there's a task that you need to do, and your motivator is Gypsy's life. And it would be Ruby telling him this. And because he's autistic, he believed that literally Ruby was telling him this and that Gypsy had no control over it, right? Because he's thinking that she has multiple personalities just like he thinks he has, but she was faking it. See, he had no idea he was being lied to. He thought Gypsy's life was on the line. So he writes to his friends and his sister, and you can see this email here and also on Facebook. He says, well, someone else's life is on the line, and that's all I can say. Sorry. He was communicating that his life was not in danger, but someone else's life was on the line. Now, per Gypsy's text messages on June 9th, who did Gypsy communicate whose life is on the line? Well, let's read her text message. For motivation's sake, bring your A game, hun. This is life with me on the line. Gypsy sent this 10 minutes after Ruby sent a message telling him, my mom's a tummy sleeper. She's going to be laying on her belly, on her tummy, and she's a light sleeper. The shiz is going to go down tonight, Ruby said, right? 10 minutes later, Gypsy texts him from the same number and reminds him that for motivator's sake, bring your A game. This is life with me on the line. So when we go back to Nick's message, the email, And Nick tells his friends, well, I'm in a dilemma. Someone else's life is on the line. Whose life was he talking about? Was he talking about Dee Dee's life? Nope. Gypsy reveals that he was talking about Gypsy's life. You see, Gypsy had no control over Ruby, right? That's what Nick thought. He thought that Gypsy had multiple personalities and that Ruby either would take over or not take over. But when Ruby was talking, Gypsy had no control over it. That's what he thought. This is what I see in my opinion and my observations. So Gypsy tells Nick, for motivator's sake, remember, this is life with me on the line. Like basically saying you have to do what Ruby just texted you. You have to get your A game. This shit is going to go down tonight because Ruby said so. And life with me on the line. So you have to do it, right? My life is on the line, Gypsy's telling him. So Nick is faced on the morning of the 9th with a decision that even though he's come there with the attempt to run away with her. So this is the morning of the 9th. He's already decided he's going to get her. He's going to run away with her. He's going to bring her back home. But Gypsy's still giving him no other choice because Ruby's in control. And Ruby has a card holding over him. And that card was Gypsy's life. And now I'm sure he realizes after all these years in prison that Gypsy's life is just fine. That Ruby's not going to do anything to Gypsy. That Gypsy will be living as long as possible. And that Ruby's going to make sure that Gypsy lives longer than probably anyone else. Nick has no idea that she faked. Or maybe he does now realize that she faked these multiple personalities and that Gypsy was in control of Ruby the whole time. It wasn't the other way around. And that Gypsy would use the persona of Ruby only as a manipulating tool. And when people realize this, when they realize that she threatened to end Gypsy's life, to end her own life, per Ruby, and that this is why Nick did what he did, because his motivator was to do what Ruby said to keep Gypsy safe. When people realize that this is the lengths that she went to manipulate an autistic man, then Lifetime will have no option but to stop giving her seasons and episodes. Other celebs are already annoyed with the fact that they have to maintain clean, pristine personas. Yes, they're not perfect, but they have to maintain a kosherness, a gracefulness in interviews. They go in their lives. They have to offer something to their fans and their followers. Even Chappelle Roan got on a live, right? And she was complaining about paparazzi and having to take pictures with people. And the media got upset at her over it. But you have Gypsy going on a live and chewing ridiculous, eating a cookie, and her own fans and followers are going to have to listen to that. And the media's crickets. There's no reaction at all. Do you imagine how other celebs feel when they have to actually work? They have to do real advocacy work. They don't get a green pass. Every single media opportunity they get, they have earned. And yet here's Gypsy dropping balls left and right, lying on every other interview, chewing on camera like a goblin, manipulating an autistic man. He's in prison for life. And yet there's no media, press, panini pressing her at all. How do you think that makes other celebs feel? Gypsy doesn't realize how many enemies she's creating. Not just in the normal world of us, normal people, but in the world of celebs. No celeb is ever going to want to work with her or come near her because now they're pretty annoyed at the fact that she will get on a live and do that to her own fans. You see other celebrities realize that with their influence and their notoriety and their fame, that there's a responsibility to show as an example. There's a gracefulness when they get on a live. There's a gracefulness and an obligation and responsibility they have for their own fans and followers that are paying their own way to success. And Gypsy understands none of that. But I want it to be very clear to the public that Nick did not just do this to save Gypsy from a terrible mother in his mind. He did this because he thought that if he didn't, Gypsy's life would be on the line by Ruby's hands.